at some point in time, I realized, hey, I kind of want to enjoy my family and my career at the same time. And that's really when it came to me. Hey, I got to develop other people. This isn't about me. I don't need to be a hero here. I need to just have a company of heroes.
Welcome to the Millionaire Car Salesman Podcast, the #1 resource for automotive sales professionals, managers, and owners to learn how to make money, accumulate wealth, and to all out ball out in the auto industry. And now your hosts, Sean V. Bradley and L.A. Williams.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is L.A. Williams, and I'm here live on the Millionaire Car Salesman Podcast. And man, I've got a phenomenal guest for you today. You heard from someone who worked at his dealership a couple weeks back. We had his internet director on, but now we're gonna talk to the boss, right? So this guy, man, he's awesome. I remember when I went to his dealership to train his team. One of the first things he said to me, he was like, "L.A., listen, man, whatever we got to do to make this stuff easier for my customers." He said, that's the #1 thing for me, is I want stuff simple, right? Make it like 1, 2, 3, ABC. You know what I'm saying? Jackson 5 out this joint. So, man, we're going to hear from my main man, Mr. Bob Ruth. What's up, Rob?
How you doing, man?
Oh, man, I'm super excited to have you on.
Thanks for having me.
I appreciate it. So, kind of just talk about your background in the automotive industry. Tell us how your family got involved and how you got involved.
Well, I mean, I was born into it. My father started in the automotive industry when he was 18. He had me when he was, I guess, in his early 30s. And my parents were divorced at a young age, and I actually lived with my father. And he bought this store when I was 6 years old, and we lived above the dealership.
Wow.
So where I'm at, I'm sitting right now in my office, which once was my kitchen. So, I mean, I've been involved in the automotive industry from, day one. It's just part of what it's my blood. I've had every position you can imagine here.
Nice. So here's the thing. Normally, this is what we say. Normally, we're like, nobody, wakes up and says, "Mommy, Daddy, I want to be in the automotive industry," right? But your story is a little bit different. I don't know. I know your dad was in it. You were born into it. What was it that made you want to get involved? Was it because it was the family business? Talk about your thought process kind of in the teenage years.
Well, I actually did not want to get involved in the automotive business. I guess probably because that's all I knew. And it was just, you wanted something different. So I had other plans for myself. But somehow I got drawn to it. I was in college. My first summer out of college, I worked for a mason, and I was a mason tender, and, it was just hard labor. I loved it. But I was making $8 an hour. So the second summer, my father convinced me to sell cars. So I was 19 at the time, and I was like, how the heck am I going to sell cars? I'm 19 years old. But I gave it a shot, and you know what? I got my first paycheck, and I was hooked. I was good at it. I mean, I liked the money. I mean, that's really what it came down to. As a 19-year-old kid, I was going to college. I went back to school. I had, my pockets were fat, and from there, it was just, it was something that I was drawn to. I liked being able to, the harder I worked, the more I could earn.
Yes, absolutely. And these are the listeners that we're talking to, people who are in, this is the Millionaire Car Salesman listenership, right? So they want to know. So it went from $8 an hour. What was that summer like for you? And then you said your pockets were fat. So kind of give some people, put some numbers around it, maybe even talk about how many cars you sold, stuff like that.
Sure. So, $8 an hour at the time to an 18-year-old, and I didn't have any bills. I was living at home. I mean, that was decent money at the time. So we're talking about 1995 at the time. Mm-hmm. So, or 1996. It was summer of 96. I was a mason. The next summer I came back. I think I made $3,000 the whole summer. After taxes, maybe take $2,200 back to school. Mm-hmm. The next summer I came back. It's my first summer selling cars. I probably gave it a half-assed effort. I mean, I was into it, but I was like, but at the end of the summer, I made like $9,000, which was, to me at the time, I quadrupled what I did the year before. Okay. Now I'm really kind of drawn to this. So, then, the light bulbs start going off and the logic's coming in. The following summer, which was my junior year of college, going into my senior year, I came back and I went to Clemson. So I was in South Carolina and, the dealership's here in Pennsylvania. So I came back to Pennsylvania for the summer and I said, you know what, screw this. I mean, I like the money. I was like, I'm gonna give it everything I got. I've got no responsibilities. I've got no kids. I've got no anything. So, I mean, I just did a bell to bell the whole summer, and I made $28,000 in like 3.5 months. So I'm a 19-year-old kid. I've got no responsibility, and I go back to school, and I'm kind of a big fish all of a sudden.
Yeah, man.
I enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it. So then when I graduated school, I'm still, this isn't getting out of my brain at this time. I took a job with First Union National Bank in Charlotte, North Carolina, and my starting salary was $31,500. And it was commission based, but I mean, potentially if I was really good, I could probably make $40,000 my first year. And all I kept thinking about was, that summer in 3 months where I made $28,000 and, I wanted to live a good life. I mean, I just did. I like nice things. I like going to nice places. I like what money can do for you and the opportunities it provides. So that's what's drawn me to it. I'm not going to lie, and then it was just, I saw an opportunity to help my dad. I mean, it was a time the internet was kind of just coming out. I saw that he wasn't really prepared for it. And, I thought I could make a difference.
Right. Awesome. So yeah, man, I definitely want to talk about that. But you made some really key points because, sometimes for people like us and our listeners, people think that we're all about money. And it's not about being all about money. It's about what money can provide for you, right? Money,
I want to live a good life.
Yeah. Absolutely. 100%. All right. So talk about this. So internet department, right? What did they make you responsible for that once you came in? Talk about how you ingrained the internet into what you do.
We had one computer with the internet when I got here in 2000, one computer. And, I went to an NADA conference with him and that's when I decided to come back, and I was with a bunch of dealers I've known my whole life, and these guys thought that the internet was going to take over their business. The manufacturer was going to sell directly to the consumer, and, the dealership model was going away. Ooh. And I saw it as a different opportunity that, we could actually leverage the internet and reach more people. So It was kind of a slow process from the get-go. One computer, I said, hey, we've got to upgrade. We got to start utilizing things that, we can do, get ourselves out there on the internet, whether, Auto Trader, and I guess it was cars.com at the time. And, that was the start of it.
Kind of just walk us through the process, because I'm sure, some people were kind of giving you some opposition. How did you make it work? Because you obviously made it work. I mean, we're going to talk about where you are now, but so I was saying, obviously you made it work. So tell us kind of that transitional story.
I think it's still in a transition, to be honest, LA. I mean, there's still some old school mentality out here. I just have a very determined man. I'll just push through, and I'll push with something, and I'll get a little steam behind me. And then once I have a little steam behind me, then I'll push harder, and, we just keep going from there. Persistence overcomes resistance.
Man, you ain't never lied. We had someone on the podcast last week that talked about how he's an independent dealer and he was trying to get a bank. He was to sign him up or sign up the bank or something. And he talked about how he left the guy 51 voicemails once a week. He wouldn't respond to him. He turned off his voicemail and he started texting him, and he texted him every day for like 15 days. And then something happened, and then he texted him another 18 days and he wouldn't respond. So he texted him twice a day. But the bottom line is he ended up signing up that bank. Right.
And you got to do what you got to do. Yep.
Absolutely. So, I mean, that's the kind of stories I know that the team here, they really appreciate stuff like that. Because, again, we're always faced with something. Right. And you always have two choices. You either can attack or you can retreat. But we never retreat. We always attack. And so that's absolutely what we got to do.
Well, I'm always in attack mode myself. When I find myself retreating, then I know that there's a problem and I need to overcome it. You just got to push. You got to push. If you believe in something and you believe strong in it, then, you got to go for it.
Absolutely. So what do you say? What are some of the keys to making money in the automotive industry? Let's say I'm brand new, I'm 19, 20. I want to get started in the automotive industry. Somebody told me that you can make, 25 grand in the summer. I'm like, what? I want to do that. What do I got to do?
Well, I think you got to be good with people. You have to understand people. It's not necessarily, if you want to sell more, you got to figure out how you can help more people. You got to figure out what they're looking for, and then you got to deliver on it. If someone's coming in, they want a certain type of thing, you got to work to help them, not just try to sell them something because it's right for you. I think if you really put yourself in the person that's sitting across from you, that you're trying to sell them something, get to know them, listen to them, really find out what they're trying to accomplish, and then use your own expertise to help guide them in the right way and work together with that person to, help them. So you're in the people business. So learn people. And then I would also say it's a numbers game. You're in a people business, learn people and get in front of as many people as you possibly can, however you got to do it.
Let's talk about that. I mean, what did you do to learn people and what did you do to get in front of people?
Well, at first it was just time. I had to, I had to spend more time at the dealership. I had to just be present to get in front of more people. Mm-hmm. And then after you do it for a while, you gain experience and you kind of find what works and what doesn't work. And you have to constantly be evolving and be willing to accept that you don't know everything. You got to keep training. You got to keep developing. Look for new opportunities, market yourself, get yourself out there. You got to do what you got to do.
So let's play devil's advocate real quick. So no, man, you grew up in the industry. Come on now. It's not like you ever did something that doesn't work. What in the world could you mean? Break it down to
you want me to write you? I could write you in a book on all the things I did wrong.
Well, that's what we want to hear about. Tell us what you did wrong, what you learned from it. Give us an example.
I mean, I think the thing that I've learned the most, and this is I'm going on my 20th year, full time in the car business. Okay. You can't do everything yourself. You can't try to be a hero. You really have to, develop a team, especially from a management perspective. You got to develop other people, and that's how you're going to continue to grow, whether it be salespeople or whether it be sales managers or technicians. I mean, I could talk about the whole business, but your strengths come with the strength of your team. So I wholeheartedly believe in, personal development and continuing to get to know my employees, find out what drives them, and then work with them and really try to help them, achieve their own goals.
That's some really good stuff, man. And that's even really helpful for me because I recently promoted me to vice president of dealer synergy here. And so I'm working with the team and it's just very interesting, the outlook that you have, right? So just recently here, we kind of suffered a big loss. Like we lost one of our people and it was kind of unexpected. We're like, what in the world? Why did they just not show up? And so now there's morale stuff. There's stuff that you got to deal with.
Absolutely. I've lost a lot of people along the way. And, sometimes you have to really look in the mirror and you have to take responsibility for it. I mean, there's a reason why that person didn't want to stay with your company. And, I think that there's lessons there. And I hate to just put that responsibility, or blame. I hate the blame game. And I think that, if I have the mentality that I'm going to take responsibility for things, then, that kind of, it spreads. And I think that the more everyone just focuses really on themselves and what they can do to make a difference, your business will grow.
Nice. That's what I'm talking about. And again, we really appreciate this stuff because it's coming from somebody who knows, like you said, 20 years in the industry, having every position, the advice that you're giving is extremely valuable and we definitely appreciate it.
Well, thank you.
So what would you say are some of the secrets to just running a successful dealership? Like you said, you've been doing it for some years. You watched your dad do it. How do you stay in business for so long? You guys have, been around for some time now.
Manage your assets. Your biggest assets are your people and your inventory. So I would say that's the biggest thing to focus on. Like we already talked about, get the right people, keep the right people, show them a path, give them opportunities, stay present with them. That's one key. And then inventory is key. You got to have the right inventory and you got to manage it and you got to stay on top of it. Keep it turning. Turn your inventory as much as you possibly can. That's the key. and market yourself. Get your name out there. You got to have people coming through the door, and that goes all the way down into salesperson. Don't rely on the dealer, but the dealer has a responsibility, but the individual has to take responsibility as well. They got to focus on building that pipeline.
Absolutely. So again, I kind of asked this question. If you listened to the podcast before, I asked the question of, what are some of the mistakes that people make in the automotive industry? But I think you can give it to us from a different perspective, because you could talk about, mistakes that salespeople make, mistakes that managers make, even mistakes that dealer principals make when it comes to running a successful business. What would you say are some of the most common mistakes, some things that you try to stay away from to help you be successful?
I think the biggest mistake is when people become content. If they're not looking forward and they're not working towards something, or they forget why they're doing it, I mean, you're done. Once you stop learning and you stop trying to achieve something, it's done. There's only two ways to go, forwards or backwards. You can't just remain the same.
That's it. That's it.
I mean, that's the ultimate mistake right there. Contentness.
Goodness gracious. All right. So now you've got some successful people at your dealer. What are some of the habits that the most successful people at the dealership have? What do you see them do constantly that keeps them top producers?
Discipline. The most successful people are the most disciplined. The ones that just stay focused and have the right habits. Habits, it depends on what position you're in. Habits for let's just say you're in the internet department, you got to make your calls, even when you don't feel like it. This is what I do every day. It's like getting up and putting your pants on, LA, it's what you got to do. Salespeople, same thing. The most successful ones are the ones that are disciplined, the ones that go through a process, the ones that stick to that process no matter what, that don't just try to go from A to Z. It's not that simple. Don't try to make it too simple, but keep it simple.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, don't try to cut corners. I definitely hear
Don't
you.
cut the corners, right? Just don't cut corners.
Yeah, 100%, man. The principles don't change. I mean, you hear the dealer principles, you hear the successful people say discipline, right? Ali Rada talks about discipline, right?
Discipline.
Just any successful person, if I ask them what's the number one habit, discipline has probably been the number one word that was used, but I think everyone describes it differently. So, Rob, you just gave us some heat right there, man. That's awesome.
Hey, that's true.
So here's the thing.
Check up from the neck up.
That's it, right?
Yep.
Speaking of which, man, you said that you're big on self-development, right? So what are some of the books that maybe you've read that you probably recommend to other people where they can develop the way you're developing?
I think in a sales position, I think like we talked about, you got to be good with people. I would read Dale Carnegie's book, How to Win Friends and Influence People. That's my favorite. Let me see. There's another book, Extreme Ownership. That would be more for a management position. That's by Jocko Willink. And then it's a book called Grit by Angela Duckworth. Those are the three I would recommend.
That's a good one right there.
Yeah.
I definitely got the audio book of that one. And that was crazy because my wife picked that up and she dove into that one before I even did. So that was huge. All right. So talk about this. How important is training? And tell me, what do you recommend people train on? What's the number one thing? If I train on this thing, I'll get really good. Tell me about that.
I mean, I think that training is, if once you stop learning, it's a bell curve. Your sales are going to go then you become content. You're not really reaching towards something. So then the bell curve starts going down, and you can see it from salespeople. I mean, I've seen it over 2 decades. They come in, they're all hot. They're driven. They're, ready to conquer the world. And then they get to a point where they think they know everything. And then all of a sudden everything starts falling off. And if they don't catch themselves and kind of redirect, I mean, we all know what happens. Training with people. We're dealing with people. Learn what people want. Learn how to communicate with people.
Yes.
Learn how to be a better servant and, just get along with people. Learn to be more trustworthy.
You're on fire.
Yeah. Take responsibility for the sale. Focus on yourself. people, you're not selling for a reason, and it's not because of them. It's because of you.
That's it. Yeah, that was one of the gentlemen's thing just last week. He said, man, I used to always think it was them, and then I realized it was me. And as soon as he did that, that's when his career really started taking off.
Life changes. It's actually, you start to feel better. You feel in control. All those anxieties that people have is because they're putting their life in the hands of everybody else. Once you actually own yourself, I think that's when you can take off.
Man, I'm telling you, so basically, I hear you saying it goes hand in hand. Training, if you ever stop training, it's because you're content. And then when you're content, you start losing, right? So I love it.
Yeah, just don't let yourself become lazy. I mean, I get up every morning at 5 a.m. I go to the gym. I have my own habits that keep me in check. I'm just like a robot, honestly, for the first part of the day. And then I come into work and I structure my day and I plan it out and I have goals and I just work towards them. I mean, it's really simple when you make it that simple.
Got it. Now, here's one thing I will say. Everyone's morning routine is probably different, but if someone wanted to model their routine after yours, what would that look like?
Like I said, I get up early. I go to the gym. I take some time for myself. I
Put
do
a
that
time on that early because most people don't know, really what early.
I wake up at 4:45. That's the time my alarm clock goes off.
That's it.
And I'm kind of strange. I take a shower because I have to wake up. It kind of just, get the sleep out of my eyes. I take a shower, I eat something, I get to the gym at 5:45, maybe 5:50. I work out with a couple guys that actually work here. It's just a good, it's kind of like a little men's group.
Can you say team building?
Team building, yeah. And I enjoy that. I like just being with them outside of work. We don't really ever talk about work, but we push each other. We're doing something good for ourselves. Then I go home. I'm home by 7:00. When school's in, I get my kids ready. I kind of kiss them goodbye. I take the dog out. I get back in the shower and I come into work. Then we have a sales meeting every morning. I try to get the team lit up for the day, get them enthused, remind them why they're here, and then, my days are different from there. But that's my morning routine. That just kind of gets it started for me.
Nice. And it's pretty cool, man, because I heard the family aspect of it. Can you talk about that, what that's like running a dealership, running a family, kind of break that down to people and talk about that work-life balance and what you're able to do from a financial standpoint. How does that help your life?
Well, I have three children. I married my wife 17 years ago.
Wow.
She had a daughter at the time. So my daughter now, she was 4 at the time when we got married. So she's 22. And then I have a 12-year-old daughter that we had together and a 11-year-old son. Mm-hmm. So that's been the most challenging of all, because being in the car business, you were kind of taught, hey, you got to work crazy hours. And I did it for years. And then my wife was home with 2 little kids and a 10-year-old. I mean, that was the biggest challenge I faced. But somehow we we have to evolve. And, at some point in time, I realized, hey, I kind of want to enjoy my family and my career at the same time. And that's really when it came to me. Hey, I got to develop other people. This isn't about me. I don't need to be a hero here. I need to just have a company of heroes that can, manage this place with or without me. So
that is it.
Yeah, I still face that challenge. I mean, I still work on it all the time.
That's beautiful, man. And that's something good to know, because again, it's like, here you are on the Millionaire Car Salesman podcast, running a dealership, and you're saying that you still need to develop. How much more for the rest of us, right? We got to keep going forward. So that's some advice when you're on it. So let's talk about this. What do you love about the automotive industry? What is it what's kept you here for a full decade? I'm sorry.
The opportunity.
Let me say that correctly, because I messed that up.
2 decades.
I'm going to edit it out. For 2 full decades. You've been here for an entire score years. Talk to us about that.
It's just the opportunity. I see the opportunity. I see the changes that have, that they've already happened in the industry. And I think that there's so much more to come. And, I want to be a part of it. I want to do a redo. I want to really start fresh and really kind of change the perception of people's buying a car. I think that, we've been tarnished for ways that we've done business in the past. And I think that there's a huge opportunity that we can, kind of save our faces as, being in the car business.
Yes. And I think that's one reason why I believe we work together so well, because constantly, no matter where I am, no matter which dealership I'm working with, whatever part of the country, that's the conversation that I'm having with people all over, is that we got to change the way that we do business, because we need to change the perception that the public has. People sometimes wonder why customers are the way that they are, but we got to understand that we're responsible for that, right?
That's right. That's what I said.
Yeah, man.
You got to look in the mirror.
Absolutely. We caused all this.
You can't blame them.
100%. Absolutely. So cool, man. So kind of just give people a great closing statement, something that they got to get this from Mr. Rob Ruth. What do you got for the people?
I mean, I think you got to really focus on that opportunity. I mean, you're in the car business and everybody needs a car in some way. And you're in a sales business. So your potential is unlimited. And I think that there's opportunities in a dealership that people don't even realize, and they just take it for granted. Just make yourself known, focus on yourself, get attention because of the good things that you're doing, not, because of the wrong things you're doing, and, believe in that opportunity.
Nice. Awesome stuff, man. Well, to me, this has been absolutely phenomenal. It don't have to be lengthy, right, in order to get some power.
I got you.
That's why I really, really like this thing, man. So I always tell people that you are the average of the 5 people who you spend the most time with, right? So you've just been spending time with Mr. L.A. Williams, the blindfold master, and Mr. R&R Rob Ruth. Man, it's your turn. Go out there and be a millionaire car salesman. Thanks so much for listening. Thanks for joining us, Rob.
Hey, I appreciate you, man. Thanks for having me. It means a lot.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you like it, you love it, you want more of it, then don't wait for the next money show. Just go to bradleyondemand.com and take your career to the next level.